Hello, everybody. Hey now, and welcome back to Hoopin with Christy and Deb right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winter Scott, joined as always by my dear friend in hoops, Debbie Antonelli. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Christy. Well, Antonelli vacation this week. We're dirty dancing in the Pennsylvania mountains. I'm not going to disclose the exact location because I wouldn't want anyone to take advantage of this paradise that we're at. I'm going to kind of keep it a secret. The Antonelli family has been coming to this place for 50 years. I call it dirty dancing. Ring the bell for every meal, activity every night. There's a pool and a lake. My boys are in heaven.
Oh, that's all you need is a body of water and, some nice, cool lemonade and some swimming and some sun. That's it.
Yeah, a little cool something else besides lemonade, but yes.
Berry juice. No, just joking. Okay. No, I'm glad you're doing great. I'm glad you're doing great. All things hoops all the time. The All-Star break is upon us at the end of this week, July 20th, down in Phoenix. But before we get into that, we kind of discussed a mailbag and wanted to hear from our listeners, viewers, and you guys gave us a really great list of players and what you wanted to hear stories about. So we're going to start with that. So there was a big long list of players and coaches that our listeners just threw upon us. So what jumped out at you, and who do you want to discuss?
Well, I want to talk about a couple of people on the list. There are a lot of people. We have a story on each one of them, and we can continue to do this because I think this is fun. But I've got two I want to talk about that were on the list. One is Katie Smith, the other Sadia Roundtree. So for Katie Smith, very quickly, people that know my background know that I've known Katie since she was a junior in high school. I've watched her play at every level. And the short version of my story about Katie is my relationship with her through the years is so important to me. I think it was important to her when she was nominated to be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Each Hall of Famer asked someone to write their story for the program. And of all the people across Katie's entire career, she asked me, Christy, and it was one of the great compliments. I get chills thinking about it. It took me forever to write it because I wanted to do it just right. So I think I interviewed probably 8 or 9 people just to try to find something that maybe nobody knew. And the one nugget that I came away from was Katie played her high school basketball in Logan, Ohio. There's a sign on Highway 33 that runs between Columbus and Athens, Ohio, where I went to grad school. And every time I drive that, I see it every time. And I try to take a picture while I'm driving, which I shouldn't do. But Katie played in high school on a stage. That was the gym. It was a stage in her high school. And isn't it so fitting that Katie started her career on a stage and ended her career playing on a stage? So I love that story about Katie Smith. There's so many other things I could say about her, but that one was really very personal for me. And then the only thing I want to say about Sadia Roundtree is I think Sadia Roundtree is a basketball Hall of Famer. She's a 2-time national champion in junior college, All-American in college at Georgia, took Georgia to the Final Four. She's accomplished everything you could accomplish individually and as a part of a team. She was the National Player of the Year in junior college. She was the National Player of the Year in D1 college. Crazy. She should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And what a story on Katie Smith, the stage and then the stage. Oh,
right.
So great. That is so great. And for me, I'm going to try to be brief with Cheryl Miller because I saw her name pop up. And for me, she's always going to be the one, right?
Yeah.
Just as a little kid watching her, well, not so little, but kind of younger kid, watching her with the Olympic team, with USC going to the Final Fours and winning championships, and my nose being right up on the screen. I just was mesmerized by her. I remember her being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and it said it's Miller time, and there were all these letters from colleges on her bed, and she was laying like this, and she had her feet up behind her, and I had that on my dresser for I don't know a long time because that's when the letters were a thing, right? So all the envelopes and all that. So when that was started coming in for me after the fact, I was like, oh my God, it's like just like Cheryl Miller on Sports Illustrated. It was crazy. But full circle it, junior year, at Maryland. We went to the Final Four. Guess who the analyst was on the game? Cheryl Miller. I
Wow.
I got hit with the ball in the layup line because I was just looking over and I was like, "Gee," I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, layups, okay." But I was just like done. And then fast forward, and I saw her coach in the WNBA and all that after the fact. Talked to her a couple times, boom, boom, boom. But last year at the Final Four in Dallas, I was sitting at the table courtside in the semifinal game, and I'm talking. I turned to talk, and walking by me, Cheryl Miller, Debbie. I couldn't get up fast enough. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get up. I gotta tell her. I grabbed her by the shoulders and I said to her, I was like, listen, I know I haven't seen you in a while, but I promised myself the next time I saw you, I was gonna thank you for everything you
That's
did for
cool.
me as a little girl watching you play and then calling the game. It made me want to be an analyst. Like I just told her my whole story. I'm sobbing, like not sobbing, but like I had that
Yeah.
cry but no tears were falling, but I was just so like emotionally like locked into that moment with her. And I just had to tell her that I thanked her for her encouragement that she didn't even know she was giving me, right? Just by being who she was and the passion that she played the game with, and how she was knocking into players when they got and ones, and how so she was so excited for other players. She was
So
so
athletic. I mean, so athletic.
just
Way ahead of her time. I mean, doing things that no one else was doing when she was playing at Southern Cal.
Yeah, but I had to tell her, and I just like it was like one of those things you just check off the list. So for me, it's definitely Cheryl Miller will always be that motivator for me in all ways as a hooper. Not that I played anything like her, but I think I had that passion that she had under the surface. Like I didn't
Sure.
always play it, but that time she pushed Kim Mulkey in the back. Kim Mulkey had just gotten an and one in the Olympics. She had the braids and everything, and she pushed her and started stomping around and was so excited. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So it's like I think she that was a seedling for me to understand that that passion can be displayed, and it's not arrogance, it's not pompous, it's passion and competitive fire, and it's okay, right? Because
Yeah.
I felt that way, but I don't know, I think I kind of bottled it down, but I just
She
thought,
still has it, Christy. She still
yeah,
has it when she's on the sideline sitting courtside for the Southern Cal games. I've been to those. I've called those games there.
yeah,
Juju on fire, and Cheryl's right there with her teammates. Rhonda Wyndham is right there. I mean, that whole group's coming back. You could see them coming back. Like it's going to be fun. It's going to be
yeah.
fun watching that whole thing with Lindsay Gottlieb.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't know if I have time. I'll save my other ones because my Cheryl Miller story was so long. But we'll have more stories moving forward with our great Hoopin pod. It's just I just had to tell that whole full circle thing from being a youngster to last year. Seeing her and the
Yeah.
impact that she continues to have on my life is just amazing. So thank you, Cheryl Miller, and thank you for the time to share that story too. But we have the great All-Star game coming up this weekend, Debbie, in Phoenix. And on Friday, there's going to be the skills and the 3-point shooting contest. I don't know. There could be a lot of people that want to raise their hand to participate in that, but who do you want to see in the skills and the 3-point shooting contest this weekend?
They haven't announced who all those participants are yet. They have, but okay, because I'll tell you who I'm looking forward to seeing. I didn't know if they had already put it out there. I think, well, of course, Sabrina in the 3-point shooting
Right.
contest. Can she match what she did last year? And then can Caitlin challenge her in the 3-point shooting contest? Who are the best 3-point shooters? Can Kelsey Plum, is she in the skills contest? Is Chelsea Gray in the skills contest? Like I'm just excited about it. I remember going to the All-Star game a couple of years ago, and they match up an All-Star with a college kid, and they go through the skills competition. They did the year that I was there, and Zoe Brooks, the kid at NC State, won it alongside. I think it was Chelsea Gray that year. I think it was Chelsea or it was Kelsey. I'm not really sure. I can't remember now, but I'm looking forward to all of that. That is a fun event. I think the players have a good time doing it. They get to come together. I think it's fun. I think it's going to be great for the league. I think everybody's going to see how much fun the players have and how much joy they have around the game.
Yeah, vibes in the valley is what I'm calling it. This weekend is going to be so much fun. But I'm thinking, Kelsey Mitchell, like for that skills,
Oh
segment.
yeah,
she's so fast. I'm just like, if it's like a timed thing and how many passes and shots you can make in a certain amount of time. I don't know why I'm envisioning her in that. The 3-point shooting contest. I mean, Steph Dolson is shooting 50%,
Yeah.
50% from three. I don't
She
know.
I said I asked her, I said, "Steph," I looked it up because I had the Washington game, against Indiana, last week, and Steph made 19 triples in her 4 years at UConn. 19, and look what she's leading the league, or was, at 50% from 3-point, and I said, "How come?" She's like, "Getting too old, can't roll all the way to the rim anymore. I had to find something else to do." And I was like, "That is awesome, though." But I mean, she was making light of it being funny, but
Yeah.
she's excellent. I mean, she's really good, having a great year at 6'5". What a great job Eric Tebow has done with her around his system. She can pick and pop, she can
Yeah.
roll, she can defend the rim. She's good. She shoots it.
Yeah.
That's hard to guard for bigs.
Let it fly. Listen, if she's in that contest, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
Let her let it go. I love that. And then the All-Star game, obviously coming up on Sunday, the 20th of July down there in Phoenix. What do you want to see in that game? Obviously, it's going to be super competitive. Obviously, you have the USA national team, the Olympic team, who is going to be playing a group of all-stars from the WNBA, right? So the last time that happened, the WNBA All-Stars had a win. Okay.
Right.
Great. I mean, I'm sorry. It was Enrique Gumbawale who had an amazing game in that particular contest. But what are you anticipating from this game coming up on Sunday?
I'm anticipating a highly competitive game going down to the last couple of possessions. I don't think the All-Stars are going to take it lightly, and certainly the national team needs a tune-up getting ready to go into, the preliminary rounds that they're going to play in.
Right.
I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I'm excited about it. I'm usually not excited about the All-Star game, but when you set it and put it in this setting with so much on the line, like, and so much conversation about who did and who didn't make the national team, I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think there's going to be some players that want to show out a little bit, and let's just hope and pray nobody gets hurt. But I do think that if the national team is healthy, obviously you would think they should win. But if they're not healthy, I see a good path for the All-Star teams to be able to win.
Right. And speaking of injuries and health, I mean, Brittany Griner went down with a hip injury and left the game. Diana Taurasi has been on the injured list a couple games there for the Mercury. And then also Brianna Stewart had hamstring situation. They said it's just precautionary, but I
Yeah.
mean, he was out for a game. So I mean, they still have people still have 1 or 2 games left before the All-Star break, and obviously before they get into the prelims. But what do you think about that situation that's going on with the injuries and little knickknack, hamstring situations?
Yeah, I think Stewie's probably okay. It probably is precautionary. Diana and Brittany did return to play and are playing. That's good. Nafisa Collier is still not playing. She didn't play last night against Indiana. I know Cheryl Reeve of the Minnesota Lynx is also the USA basketball coach, is doing what's best for Nafisa Collier, and making sure that if it is that plantar fascia, we all know how tough that can be to deal with and what a painful injury that can be. And that's something that you just can't get past without rest, honestly. So it's a tough time to get that. But I think I've been watching the men's team, and Kevin Durant has been hurt and he's not playing, but he's still with them. So I think there's a lot of chatter about if somebody can or can't go. I don't think the USA basketball national team is going to try to make any changes. I think they're going to try to keep what they have and go. They never announced any alternates anyway. So I think everybody's on the ready if something happens, but I don't think there's going to be any changes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with the injuries, every time someone goes down, I'm like, oh, the ripple effect of that is a little
Yeah.
crazy. Vegas was in DC yesterday and Chelsea Gray went down, bumped her head. And I was like, oh man, like I hate that for this game. I hate that for her. But also, looking forward, hopefully she can make it back, which she did come back on
Yeah.
tour. But it's just so like, oh, it takes your breath away a little bit, makes you think down the road the impact of injuries. So hopefully, yes, for the All-Star break and game, hopefully everyone stays healthy on both sides, right?
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to be that month off where teams are splintered and not everybody obviously makes the all. I mean, the Olympic team, even though 4 Olympians were on the on the Vegas roster there. But what is that going to be like? And if you were coaching during that stretch, what would be the main things you would want to keep in front of your team during that break?
Well, I would give them a week off, which I think most teams get, and then they come back together. And then I think you just break down your offense and work on reps inside your system. I think you do as little contact as possible at the beginning and try to get their bodies to get back and just work on some individual stuff and some breakdown drills. Those are the things that I would probably work on. I'd watch a lot of film, but fitness would be really important. So I would make sure that, and these players, it's amazing to me how in tune they are with their body and their elite level of training. I remember Ryan Agler telling me a story about coaching Sue Bird, and he said that they were running through some reps, and he was on the top of the floor when he was coaching Seattle and coaching Sue, and Sue would turn the ball over something, and he said, "Hey, are you all right?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he's like, "What's up?" And she said, "Well, I'm kind of like a pound off." And he's like, "What?" She knew she could feel a pound in her body,
Wow.
which now we know Sue Bird and know that that's true. I mean, he wasn't lying. Obviously, that's a true statement. But I just always remember thinking, "Wow." And I look at how Asia Wilson keeps herself in incredible fitness. Like you cannot help but when you stare at her because of how fit she is. Like if you remember when she was in college to where she is now, it's just an incredible. It doesn't look like it's a huge transformation, but it is when you watch her play and you see how athletic and smooth and how what beautifully graceful moves she has around. I mean, it's so good. So,
Yeah.
I forget what you asked me, but I went off on a little bit of tangent. But that's what I would do if I had the month to get ready. I'd give them a week, and then I'd just break it down from there.
Yeah, no, agreed, agreed. I think, it's a really great time. It's almost like another, training camp because, you look at the schedule, especially the rookies coming in, they have 4 or 5 days of a WNBA training camp, and then it's off to, the prelim games or, the scrimmages and all of
Yeah.
that before you get right into the season. So not a lot of learning time. And those,
Christy, I think you know what
yeah,
to your point about 4 Olympians at Vegas,
yeah,
5 Olympians for New York.
yeah,
If you count the international players,
yeah,
um, somebody else has. Well, Minnesota has Bridget Carlton as well as Nafisa Collier,
yeah,
right? I mean, so
yeah, international,
yeah,
Mrs.
so those teams coming back from the Olympics, that's what's going to be interesting to see.
Ah,
The
those
how
teams.
much fatigue and stress will the Olympic Games put on them because
Mm,
they jump right back. I
for
mean, it's like boom, you're right back in it, and it's not like I remember looking at New York's schedule coming back is not easy.
right.
So it's gonna be fun to watch that. That's a good storyline to keep an eye on. Like who can make a jump to the teams that don't have Olympians or don't that get more practice time. How does
Right.
that look?
Right. And yeah, what's it going to look like on the other side? Because that gauntlet on the back end is a sprint, right? You got to get right to it. Just take off, like you're on the track, like Shakari Richardson, like just go. You got to go. But I love that, and I think it's going to be a great time, especially for the rookies. I think for them to get right in terms of watching film, like you said, and getting those extra reps and everything. A month is a long time. If you can get 1% better, that's all I used to say. You get
Yeah.
1% every day, even if it's just understanding something, watching film. Oh, now I see where I can go on that. Okay, that's improvement that day. So I think it's going to be really fun to watch that as well. But when you're looking at like what Asia Wilson, like you said, she's just so physically fit, mentally fit, totally out to just destroy anyone in front of her. I mean, she's just incredible and has impeccable footwork around the rim and everywhere else. I mean, she's extended her game all the way out to the 3-point line on a consistent basis now. What do you see for her right now at this juncture of the season? And then, at the end of the season, do you think she'll be stamped MVP again? Because right
Yeah.
now, my midpoint MVP.
She's my MVP right now. And my conversation with her at the beginning of the season on the first game on opening day on May 14th, I had that game against Phoenix. And the one part of her game that she wanted to really work on, and she made it a goal. One of her personal goals was to lead the team in assists. You think about that with the Chelsea Gray on the court with her.
Oh,
In order for her to do that, it would involve her handle getting a little bit sharper and her getting it off the glass and getting them up into their transition game quickly without the outlet. And she's doing those things. So that's the next evolution for her. That's where she becomes more like a Cheryl Miller. Since we started the conversation about Cheryl Miller, Candace Parker certainly was doing that towards the end of her career for sure. I think she's the MVP, but I would like to do this today because I do think this merits some conversation. I mean, I think Caitlin Clark should be in the conversation for Player of the Year. I don't think she's going to win the Player of the Year. I think she should be in the conversation. What guards are playing better than her right now as we approach the All-Star break, right? So I would put Sabrina on that list. Of course, Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young are playing really well. I mean, Arike, Jewel when she gets hot.
cool.
But if you start looking at the guards, the impact of winning their teams, where Caitlin has taken Indiana, everybody remembers their 1-8 start, their 11 games in 20 days. And now look at them. They've beaten New York, Phoenix twice. They got a win over Minnesota on the road. I mean, they've got the tiebreakers over Chicago and Atlanta.
Right.
They don't have that. They split with Washington. No, they got the tiebreaker over Washington, 2-1. So they're in pretty good position, and she's the reason why.
Yeah.
And so I think with her numbers, her efficiencies, when you match it up against everyone else, now she's leading the league in assists. I think the league leader in assists and rebounds, Angel leads the league in rebounds. You know, both of those numbers are going to go up and down.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be a really tight race at the end to see who wins that peak performance award. But certainly, I'm moving past the Rookie of the Year for me. I'm moving into Player of the Year conversation for Caitlin.
Right. I can see that. You know, if you're talking numbers and you're talking plus minus, you're talking, impact and beating Minnesota, who's number 3 in the league, right, on the road. I think that's a huge win. Obviously, beating New York, the number 1 team in the league, huge win. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things shake out. And I would put her in that list also to be considered for MVP. Also, I would see if we could make a list, right? Like positionally. Like if let's ask our listeners, let's positionally make a list of who you feel are MVP candidates from 1 to 5. Like all the point guards, all the 2 guards, the 3s, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what our fans come up, or not fans, I don't want to say fans, but what our listeners come up with on that, because I think that's intriguing. And I think from that huge list, you can kind of whittle down and filter statistically or however you figure out things.
It's so subjective, right? That's the thing about everything that we vote on has some subjectivity to it. And there's a lot of criteria that you can use to evaluate. So one person's opinion doesn't necessarily negate somebody else's opinion. It's all good for conversation. So when you talk about, Player of the Year, how about Kalia Copper?
Yeah.
I mean, look what she's done. Now, how much do people factor winning? Like right now, Phoenix is a playoff team. They're going to make the playoffs. They're at 500, 12-12, I think. She plays well when Diana is not available, right? And I mean, there are so much talent in the league. There's so many great players. Well, I always say the product's the narrative. The product is the narrative. Been saying it for a long time. It's so good. There's a lot of conversation out there about who could be. Now, clearly, in my mind, Asia Wilson is the pick, the midseason. She's probably going to win it. I don't see anybody taking it from her. She's been unbelievably must-see. As much as people are tuning in to watch Caitlin, I think they're tuning in to watch Asia as much.
Yeah.
It's great. And that's a fact. People are tuning in to watch Caitlin. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's not an opinion. The ratings indicate it. The attendance numbers indicate it. And you can see that Indiana team getting better. Aaliyah Boston is better. Kelsey Mitchell is better. Katie Lou Samuelson is playing herself into shape, 11 months removed from having a baby.
Babies, man.
Their timing and their spacing is good.
Yeah.
They look pretty good right now.
Yeah. Looking great. And that's the thing. It's like, can you be consistent? Can you sustain it? And to me, that's one of the the benchmarks, right? Like
Yes.
have 40 this game, but can you sustain her? And now you're picking up different defensive attention, right? So now how can you maneuver around that and still remain consistent? And that's what Asia Wilson has done.
And
She's
then
everything.
Brianna Stewart too, Christy. I mean, like, we're talking about the top stars. That doesn't dismiss that they're having bad years. They're all having good years. It's just Asia Wilson's standout.
She's dominating.
She's
She's
just,
dominating.
yeah. And Caitlin is dominating what she's doing for Indiana.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. And
and
then
Kalia Copper is dominating what she's doing in Phoenix. Like,
in a new role.
she's
Yeah.
going to have a major impact on us winning a gold medal. That's my prediction because we know what Asia's going to do. I think Kalia Copper is going to be, she and Jackie Young are going to have huge, huge responsibilities for
Yeah.
USA basketball.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I know, it's not, we're talking MVP, but Angel Reese with the 15 consecutive double doubles for her, man. That's insane. And then, you see Asia Wilson with 11 consecutive double doubles right now. And her double doubles are like 35 and 20, like it's not like 10 and 10. It's like egregiously like, oh, like
It's
crazy.
so good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's
It's
fun.
it's a great celebration in our game, honestly.
It really is. It really is truly. And when you're looking at what Asia Wilson has been able to do, just going back quickly to what you were saying about her being a playmaker and wanting to be the leader of assists. Becky Hammond said yesterday here in DC that for the first couple of games they played against Washington, Washington kind of showed her a lot of double teams, which they did again yesterday. But she's got a great awareness about her.
Yeah.
Gets those double teams, not that she hasn't seen them her entire life. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not get that twisted. But she said, she's become a better playmaker and she's going to have to be able to, see out of those double teams, make decisions quickly, even before she catches it, right? Because it seemed like the rule for Washington's defense was as soon as she put it on the floor, they're going to blitz her, right? And they did get a couple steals that way. But I think, the vision that she has out of double teams, and if she's like nail extended at the top, she has great vision on cuts to the rim, and Kelsey Plum is like that quick, she gets herself where she needs to be. So I just think that's something to watch as well as the season progresses. And I didn't know that she had said that about wanting to lead the team in assists, but then kind of connected what Becky Hammond said about her being able to have that awareness out of those double teams, even on the weak side out of double teams. And, they like to fill that strong side too, to kind of blow up that defensive option for opponents as well.
The one thing about Vegas, Christy, that I really love is that they have, 4 All-Stars, 4 Olympians on that team, right? But they play through Asia. They know that Asia takes the most shots. Asia's the one who's supposed to have the ball. That's why when she says she could be the playmaker, I could see it happening. I love that quality about their team. Here they are with Jackie and Kelsey all close to averaging 20. I think they're still right around 20.
Yeah.
Yet they play through Asia. She gets the most shots, and that's the way it should be. It is a great quality and characteristic of a veteran team who understands how to play the game.
Yeah.
That's the way I would describe it.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful basketball. And, speaking of vets, I want to give a shout out birthday to Alicia Clark, turned 37 last week. And yesterday, she spent a little time here in DC, but that's my girl, man. I gave her the biggest hug. I just love her impact on the team as a veteran leader as well. I think she's going to be an amazing coach if that's what she wants to do. She kind of dabbled in the coaching realm.
She did
collegiately.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love Alicia Clark. I've always enjoyed my conversation with her. And does that make her, Tina, Charles, and Diana the 3 oldest players in the league?
I say most seasoned. Because
I think there's a certain age for women where you when you get to be like Diana and you're 42, I think you want to celebrate that you're still playing for 20 years. Like, that's crazy. Alicia Clark is built like that too. Look what Tina is doing. I mean, it's just remarkable.
Agreed. Give them their flowers on it, but as most
I know what you're saying.
Just like a lot of seasoning on them. I love that.
So good.
Let me see. What shirt do you have on today? We're gonna
Build, Serve, and Power. This is my camp shirt, and it feels like I'm at camp this week. Dirty dancing in the Pennsylvania mountains.
I love it. Enjoy it. And I just have on the W wears orange because that's what we do. And the All-Star break is going to be great. We're going to break that down for you next time, right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. For my dear friend in hoops, I love you lots. Love you lots.
Thank you, Christy.
Nelly, I'm Christy Winter Scott. We will see you next time.